Yo guys, it's JJ here, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to make some hard beats for Real Boston Richey and YTB Fatt. But before we get into the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Just past 1.7k subs, on the way to 2k, and all the support is appreciated. So to show some love back, I've got my latest drum kit in the description. It's in my Instagram, go grab it. And with all that being said, let's just jump straight into the video. Now, the first thing I want you guys to note is I'm doing this at 154 BPM in a scale of B minor, but that's at the moment. And the first thing I've got open is Analog Lab 5, and I've got a really cool bell pad here. This sound really made the beat, to be honest, and it's called the Javonian Snowflakes. Really dope bell pad. And looking at the pattern, it is very simple, to be honest. Just having this nice little root note every bar, and then as you can see, I'm messing with the octave, starting in the F sharp, going down to my B. Get a nice little cool like half step kind of climb up roll thing. I don't know what you want to call that. Then play again with these notes, but as you can see, literally everything except the root note is all one semitone apart, which just gives that dark vibe. Rolls really nicely, and then I get the same thing going again every single 2 bar, and rinse and repeat it. But for context, this is what the 4 bar sounds like. Now bear in mind that is just a dry sound, but the next thing I actually did was I went into my playlist, I right clicked the sound, I quick rendered it as an audio clip. Then once that was done, I grabbed it into the playlist, as you could see, and this is exactly what I did. First, I went onto mode, changed it from auto to stretch, so if I ever want to change the BPM, it will not mess it up. Then I go into declicking mode and change it from transient to generic, so whenever the loop loops over, it gets rid of that popping click sound. Then I took up 3 semitones, so now we've moved from a B minor into a D minor, and the final thing I did was just reverse the whole sample. So now if we get rid of this is what the actual main melody sounds like. And as you guys could hear, it's a very nice bass sample just to really get the kind of dark beat going. But moving on to the effects, we have got ourselves an instance of Pro Q3, simple EQ cutting off all my lows. Next up, we got an instance of Soothe 2, just because the pad has a few harsh frequencies I wanted to cut out. And some Portal using the harmonic transfer, very nice little vibe, gives it a grainy effect. Then I used Fruity Flanges but on 50%. And last but not least, a nice bit of Valhalla Vintage Verb with this preset that I made just to add some ambience. And looking at the stereo separation, this was done only at 25%. And next up, guys, we got ourselves an instance of Contact 7, but the preset I am using is this ooh preset. I don't really know how to call it, and it's from the Vocalize 3 Gravity 8 pack. And looking at the pattern, this is actually what I started off with, and as you can see, we play off in the new root note of D, and I just slowly climb up into a G. But to make this sound more interesting for the vocal, what I did was I clicked Alt Y, which horizontally flips the pattern, so it kind of inverses it, as you can see, going from a G down into the D. And now taking this into the playlist, what I did was go on to Contact 7, right click it, and quick render this as an audio clip as well. Once I did that, as you can see, I'm left with this nice little vocal pattern, and this is what it looks like. However, I did the generic bleeding again. I put it onto the mode stretch, and then what I actually did was I clicked reverse. Therefore, it's now originally back into that whole D, climbing up into a G, rather than going from a G to a D. And because of this, it gives it a really cool texture. It sounds really nice with the reverse vocals, and it really complements the melody. So without further ado, this is what the vocal sounds like. As for the effects, very simple. Got an EQ cutting off some highs and lows, giving it kind of like a telephone EQ effect. And then I got some Valhalla Vintage Verb using a very high mix, as you can see, drowning out the sound, making it very wet. And last but not least, to further add to the ambience, I stereo separated it around 50%, really widening it within the headphones, keeping it as a nice little like ear candy layer. And next up, I got myself an instance of Piano V3, a very nice piano VST. However, any piano sound will work here. And I am using the German Classical Clean, which is a go-to preset of mine. Looking at the pattern, pretty simple and straightforward. It's a very nice little bounce. If we look over here, simple bounce going, and then instead of doing the same thing for the second half, over here I take it up a few semitones, going it into that A sharp and then down into an A, and all I did was copy and paste this an entire octave higher just to fill out the frequencies. And with all that being said, this is what the piano sounds like. As for the effects, it was very simple. I got myself an EQ cog off all my lows again, then some Soothe 2 just to enhance the piano, and then some Valhalla Vintage Verb, but not too aggressive on it because I want the piano to really stick out. And the next thing I did, and for the next sound, I got myself an instance of this bell preset, which is from my loop kit. And next up, we got ourselves a nice little bell sound, which is from my essential drum kit, and it's a very nice little perk. Everyone knows this bell. It's the tubular bell, and the pattern is the exact same as the piano, just following that same kind of bounce to really complement the sound, add a bit more aggression and darkness to it, which will again complement that YTB Fatt and Boston Richey vibe. And with that being said, this is what the bell sounds like. And as for the effects, it was pretty simple again. Cut some highs, all my lows reduced again. Then a fair bit of Valhalla Vintage Verb, just because I think the bell sounds really dope when you just drown it out a bit. And for the final sound to wrap this all up is an instance of Analog Lab 5 with this preset called the Source Bass. And of course we need the bass because we need that low end to be filled out. And looking at the pattern is so simple. All I do is follow the root note, keeping that D the whole way through. And then I got the A sharp and the A going for the final component. And now with all that being said, this is what a sample for Boston Richey and YTB Fatt sounds like. And of course, it's time for the drums, but before we get into it, just remember all these sounds are from my kit, completely free, in the description, just for you. And looking at the snare pattern, very simple, straightforward. It's a nice little Lex Luger snare. It's every 2 beats, as you can see. And what is there to complain about? And now of course we're onto the hi-hats, and the pattern is a bit mad, but let me just walk you through it. It's just this nice little 4-bar that loops over to make a full 8. But if we look into this pattern right, first of all, this nice little roll over here is if we go into the magnet tool and go into quarter step, the paintbrush, then click on any note that you want. As you can see, you can click and drag it in. However, this roll is not a quarter step roll, as you can see, because it fills in double the space. So this is actually what you call a half step roll. Then this is a genuine quarter step roll. However, the way I got this nice little pattern going is if you hold shift as you drag your thing, you see the paintbrush will just play wherever you place your note. That really helps with these cool rolls. So that is exactly how I got this. And then this is another quarter step roll, very simple. Got myself a 1-step roll going on over here, just like that. Then another quarter step roll, a reverse quarter step roll, as you can see with the velocity change. Again, more quarter step rolls, just really giving that dark vibe. And then I copy and paste all of this one more time to make the 8-bar. And now this is what the hi-hats and the snare sound like. And now for my favorite part, the 808, and now for my favorite part, the 808s. And looking at the pattern, very straightforward. We have got ourselves a super dope bounce at the beginning over here. Very common though. And then switch up the bounce a bit on the other part of the 4-bar. Then I copy and paste it literally all over back here. But I add a bit of variation at the end. Just having that A sharp and that A bounce going with the root notes. As for the kick, same pattern. But all I do is keep it at that root note of C to maintain the same pitch. And one thing guys I like to stress, I do this for both my A weight and my kicks, is I click Control A, halting on my notes. Then I grab my mouse, push that scroller wheel down, and scroll to the very top, as you can see. And all that does is it maxes my velocities out, making my 808s and my kicks much punchier. Therefore, it's more appealing to artists, and when they hear your beats, it makes it more likely for them to hop on them. And now with all that being said, this is what the kick and the 808 sound like. And now it's time for the final components of this beat, which is the perks. First of all, we've got ourselves a nice little tick perk, kind of repeats itself every 4-bar. Very nice little roll, and that's all we need. And next up, we've got ourselves this run of fade perk. It's a very common perk for Detroit beats. And as you can see, I panned it a bit left and right as well to make it more interesting for the beat. Bit of variation, but it's not also too much. And that's all I really did. Beats every 4-bar. And now, with all that being said, this is what the full beat sounds like. And there we have it. But now it's time to walk you guys through the structure of the beats. And first of all, looking at the intro, very nice, coming in with all the drums, pretty much the whole sample playing as well. However, halfway through the intro, I cut out all the drums and just leave the sample to play just to create tension and build up for the drop. And then we move on to our choruses, as you can see as they're all highlighted. The first 8-bar just compromises with the main sample and that piano, having all these essential drums playing and only one of the perks. But then for the second 8-bar, I then introduce those bells, as you can see, introduce the rest of the perks, and just let the beat go crazy. energy as well as the artist. But as you can see for that final chorus over here, I have that nice little reverse vocal sample playing just because I want to add some variation to the whole beat. And now looking at the verse sections, as we can see, it's 3 8 bars in total, but the first one is essentially the main sample with nothing else playing, just got the drums and just a little perk coming in as well. Then for the second 8 bar, just for a bit of variation and to also build the energy up a bit more, we now got that vocal, that piano coming in, and as you can see, the rest of the drums are just playing alongside it. But now we're onto the final 8 bar, which is known as the pre-chorus or the pre-hook, and it's kind of in the name. All that means is building up right into that hook, and we want to keep it nice, simple, and build up the energy for it. The way I do that, cut out all my drums, let the sample play, and I even stripped out that piano, reintroduced the bass just to build that energy up. And there we have it, guys, a full tutorial on how to make dark beats just for Real Boss and Richey and YTB Fatt. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.